Welcome back to My Dad Watches The Bachelor. I'm Meredith, and I'm here with my co-host, my dad.
Hey, Meredith, how are you doing?
I am thriving right now. Don't know if you guys listened to last week's podcast. I talked about how I went to New York City, got to meet Hot Greg and Andrew S., and then I got COVID. So I have COVID right now. I had COVID last week, unbeknownst to me. But don't worry, I've been isolating, haven't infected anyone that I know of. I'm on the mend, people.
Yeah, well, I think we advertised that you and I would be in studio this week, but actually we're not, and we're doing things a little bit differently. We are taping this at 9 o'clock Eastern time, 1 hour into the Bachelorette finale, to share our thoughts after an hour, and then we're going to come back after the second hour and share some more thoughts.
And maybe after the third hour, if we're still awake.
We'll see. And and you did go to New York. You got COVID after meeting Greg and Andrew
S.
But we cannot confirm that they gave you COVID.
No. I wouldn't want to slander their good names like that. We cannot confirm who gave me COVID. I know a lot of people in New York have COVID right now. Omicron's running rampant. Sorry, I got rapid tests on the brain over here. But I've had mild symptoms. I'll be good before Christmas, so we're staying positive over here.
It'll be 10 days tomorrow, so we're letting you come home. Don't kill the rest of your family. You're doing okay. We're joking around a little bit. Your health, you seem to be doing okay. So, and we're all very happy about that. But we've just watched the first hour of the show, and Michelle has had both bachelors meet her family, Brandon for the second time, and Nate, and she's had a date with Brandon. So what do you think?
I think that Brandon is probably in a mental hospital right now, post-breakup. He's unwell. There's just no way that Brandon survives this.
Because you and I are probably both assuming that despite the fact that the parents love Brandon and are very suspicious of Nate, that based on the previews that we saw, it ain't going to go that way.
Yeah, I think Michelle just sees Brandon as too much of a safe choice. She's going to have a happy life with him, but, there's no excitement that's going to come from there. Picking Nate is taking a risk, living on the edge a little. And even though we all don't like to admit it, us ladies, we like a little bit of the bad boy sometimes. And Nate is the bad boy.
But if I listen to Michelle's parents, she's gone through some difficult boyfriend issues before. And we don't know if she maybe picked the bad boy in the past or what those issues might have been. But I find it interesting as the parent that the parents seem to be able to sniff out pretty quickly who the sincere guys are and who the ones that maybe they should be suspicious of are.
Yeah, I thought it was telling that Michelle was so nervous to introduce Nate to her mom specifically because she said her mom is really good at, figuring out what people's vibes are. And I think that that's Michelle's way of saying, deep down, I know Nate is not the good choice for me, but he's who I want to pick. And that's why I'm so nervous about this, because I know my mom isn't going to be happy with it.
Well, and she was, and Michelle was also, I don't want to say grilling Nate, but she did bring up, she questioned him again to see if he was really in this for the long haul. And I think Nate seems to be pretty good at giving the right answers, but he seems to be lacking he doesn't seem very genuine in the way he talks to anyone.
That's fair. I feel like it's got to be hard, first off, coming in to meet your girlfriend's parents for the first time right before a possible proposal and getting grilled, talking about how much you love them, would you move here, yada, yada, yada. I've never had an experience where I've met a significant other's family and had to be like, these are all the reasons why I love your son. That's an uncomfortable situation. And Nate also had a bit of a disadvantage in that he has not met the parents before and Brandon has. And I think that maybe he comes across disingenuous, but I think he means it in the moment, but could easily change his mind in the future.
Well, and I agree with you that I think Brandon definitely benefited from having met the parents before. I thought it was a pretty smooth move on his part to bring a gift to the father of a new pair of swim trunks. I thought that was pretty clever on his part, and that obviously played well.
Yeah, it was funny. Brandon's trying to win over Michelle through gifts. We just saw Brandon give her a sweatshirt as well, which I guess was the sweatshirt that she stained during their food fight in bed, which I would not want a memento of. I think I've made it very clear that I do not approve of food fights, especially not in bed. But, Brandon's pulling out all the stops. And I think he really thinks he has it in the bag. And I think that Michelle telling Brandon that she is in love with him is pretty messed up if she's not going to pick him.
I agree. I mean, he was set up for a fall, and now he's set up for a Mount Everest type fall. And you and I were, as you said earlier, and you and I were texting that we're both very concerned about where Brandon's head's going to be by the end of this show and as we go forward. Although I assume the way this show is working, from what I can tell, is we're getting 2 hours of what happened and then 1 hour live of, I guess they're going to bring in Michelle and maybe Nate and maybe Brandon if he can get released from the mental hospital and some of the other people. I was rather confused in that it seemed like in the beginning of there's a live show going on and they're showing the tape. And at the beginning, I don't think people were wearing masks. And then, and let's also say that our friend Tasha is not on the show tonight because she's been
exposed to COVID.
Exposed. I guess we don't know if she has COVID, but
it was not from me, though, people.
You heard sure she wasn't at the same place you were in New York last week with the other Bachelor people?
She might have seen Greg or Andrew S., but she did not see me.
But it seems strange. It seems to me that we saw pictures of the crowd at the beginning, no masks, and then halfway through the first hour, Caitlin came on and said that they'd been getting some feedback, and everybody was wearing masks. And somewhere in the middle, there was some Santa dude was holding a mistletoe, and some people were making out.
Yeah, they said something about Polly Claus at the beginning of the episode, that Polly Claus is here, and I don't know what that means. I guess the man dressed up as Santa, his name is Polly, but I'm not sure why it's relevant, and I don't think that we really needed a Christmas-themed Bachelor finale.
All right, well, any other observations before we go watch the second hour of the show?
No, I don't think so. I think that I'm good, and I think, we have both predicted that what will happen in the next hour is that Brandon gets dumped. Do you think Nate and Michelle are engaged right now?
I do not think that they are engaged right now. I do not know if they'll be engaged at the end of this show, but I don't think they're engaged right now. And to me, if there's any real twist to it, is we're going to come back live. This show took place several months ago. Does Michelle end up with someone other than Nate?
No, I think Michelle and Nate are engaged currently. Will they be in 6 months? No.
Okay. Well, we will be back shortly and continue the evening.
See you then. Okay, we're back. We just saw Michelle and Nate get engaged. We saw Brandon get his heart broken. Dad, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, this is sort of what we saw coming all along, in that Brandon seems like a really nice guy. He seems very young. He seemed like the very safe choice, as I think you said earlier this evening. But he didn't seem like someone that would be challenging to Michelle to help her grow. Now, I don't know if Nate's going to help her with that either, but he's certainly exciting, and I suspect the chemistry between Michelle and Nate will last for a period of time, but I'm still not convinced that ultimately they'll be together. So I wish them luck. I think Michelle seems like a very nice person and as nice a bachelorette as we've had. But I'm not sure I see them together over the long term, which would be par for the bachelorette course.
Yeah, I concur with that. I think we saw this coming for episodes on episodes. However, I did think that it would be Joe getting dumped today, not Nate or not Brandon, which is a shame. You know, I do enjoy seeing Joe on my screen, but I I think that Nate really pulled it together towards the end. You know, Michelle, that last date, Michelle really needed some validation, some affirmation from him. Nate struggled on that blessings date with really verbalizing how he was feeling, but towards the end dinner portion, you know, he did a good job talking about how he only brought 2 suits with him. He didn't think he was going to go far, but he's here because of her, and that he doesn't like to think about, you know, a future without her because it's really heartbreaking. So it's not something that he really knew how to talk about with her mom.
Well, it sort of struck me that Nate seemed to be more concerned about losing Michelle than getting engaged to Michelle. I get the sense that Nate is accustomed to getting what he wants, particularly with the ladies, and I just wonder whether he's more concerned about losing than winning. Some people just hate to lose more than they enjoy the win. So I hope that he can figure out how to um, have a strong relationship with Michelle and not just um, be satisfied that he won and didn't lose.
Yeah, that's fair. I I don't see them lasting, as we've said before. I I could see a long engagement, but I just don't think it's going to work out for Michelle.
Which is unfortunate because she seems like a nice young lady. I made a note when Nate and Michelle had their date that the appropriate date for Nate would have been a lie detector test. But I guess sort of having that shaman with his smoke seemed to be very close to a lie detector test.
I thought it was funny how many times Nate had to go back to the shaman to be like, "Wait, sorry, I wasn't ready. I'm a little slow. Like, keep the smoke coming. Sorry again. Can you do it again?"
Give me some more smoke here, buddy. Come on.
You
Yeah,
know, it's really, you know, metaphorical probably of the smoke he's blowing up Michelle's ass.
I suspect that you're right. Um, and a couple of other notes I made. And there's still an hour of this program left, and we're debating whether we should come on. And I think we need to at least come on halfway through. I know that's going to keep you up for a little bit and keep our producer Moose up for a little bit. But so far, I just want to give kudos to Caitlin. I'm not a big fan of Caitlin, but I think she's been handling the show very well this evening. So kudos to Caitlin.
Okay. I thought that some of her comments have been kind of cringy, but
I thought she's doing good. I always enjoy me some Neil Lane, and I
I
thought he had
was
a
going
very,
to ask you how you felt about seeing your boy Neil Lane.
I always enjoy my Neil Lane, and I thought he had a very snazzy sport coat on this evening, so I like that. The mom was in here watching a little bit with me, and her comment was, "Those are some bitchin' steps that they have to walk down to get to this rose ceremony." Even the guys in the dress shoes, plus Michelle, who I think took her shoes off, but that was pretty uncomfortable there.
That doesn't sound like a phrase my mom would use, but interesting.
She said that. And I will say this, that I just hope that Brandon gets to go to Paradise Island or whatever and have a grand time.
I think that Brandon is going to do just fine. We have to see how he's doing post show, obviously. We haven't seen that yet. But I think that he got a good enough edit that he's going to thrive in Bachelor Nation. If he chooses to go to Paradise, if he doesn't, he's going to be okay.
I hope he goes to paradise and that there are people there that want to help him get over this situation.
I'm sure there will be.
So, well, let's watch a little bit more and then we'll come back and give our final thoughts.
Sounds good.
Okay.
We are back. We have a happy ending. Michelle and Nate are together, and I don't know about you, but watching them interact, I may be like team Michelle and Nate now. Like, I might be here for this.
Well, I'm certainly team Michelle, and I hope things work out with Nate. I think we got to see Brandon come in. Brandon got a standing ovation from the crowd. Brandon, went through a very difficult breakup with Michelle. The crowd was very empathetic towards him, and good for them. He wants the best for them. Good for Brandon. As I said earlier, I hope Brandon has a nice recovery on Paradise or wherever it is that he goes. And my other hope is that Brandon becomes best friends with Michelle's parents. I think if they become besties, I think that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that they had to bleep out Brandon while he was talking because he said that he just loves Michelle's family so fucking much. And we got a little bleep and I was like, whoa, what happened? And it was great. I loved it. I thought Brandon handled himself with poise and grace. He was kind and said he's always going to love Michelle, but, not in the same way because he wants to be respectful of her new relationship. He's a stand-up guy.
It did remind me of something earlier this evening where Michelle asked Brandon what his deep thoughts were. And I thought to myself, Michelle, neither Brandon or Nate are having a lot of deep thoughts. They don't strike me as deep thinkers. So good luck with that.
Okay, so moving on from Brandon, we got to see Michelle and Nate make their first official public appearance as a couple, and they looked really, really happy together. I don't think that we saw that type of like happiness and chemistry throughout the season, and I guess them having this downtime since it finished airing, like they've just grown closer. They look really good together. They seem very happy. Like you can just tell by looking at them that things are going well.
And yet we know that historically that very few of these couples end up together. Are you going to set the over-under for how long that Nate and Michelle will be together, or do you anticipate a happy ending? Because for some reason, I just don't see Nate in Minnesota, particularly in the wintertime.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd like to think I'm an optimist here, but let's be real. I'm not a pessimist. I think I'm a realist. And as a realist, I would put the over-under at 6 months.
Okay. So we're in December now. You think by June, sayonara.
Yeah, and as my optimistic side is showing now, seeing them together, I'm going to go with the over against my better judgment.
All right. Well, I'm happy to take the under. So we'll see how that one goes.
Okay. Well, I also enjoyed, checking in with Michelle's mom, and she says that they love Nate now. They've moved past whatever weirdness they had the first time they met. And I liked that Michelle's mom and Nate's mom are besties now, and that they chat with each other after every episode. I thought that was really sweet.
And it looked like Nate's stepfather was sort of lurking over there on the left, and he's the one that basically told Michelle that he's not ready yet. So hopefully he'll be muzzled throughout this evening's show. We're not gonna podcast and stay up for that for as part of our podcast, but I might stay up just to watch.
You're really invested now. See, it only took us 5-6 seasons, but he is watching for pleasure now, people.
Like just like the pleasure of watching a car wreck, it's hard to turn away.
Well, I think that's most of what we have to say from the After the Final Rose. But Dad, do you have any fatherly advice to wrap us up this season?
Well, a few things I picked up this evening. Number one, if you are serious about someone, you really want to meet their family a few times before things get too serious. So it seems like Nate was an acquired taste. Brandon, by the fact that he had a chance to meet Michelle's parents a couple times, seemed to benefit from that. So, before you show up to ask for someone's hand in marriage, you better meet the parents a few times. I appreciated and respected that Brandon, with the sweatshirt gift, he does the little things, and I think that goes a long way in a relationship. So whether you're a boy or girl, just remember, do the little things that might make your significant other happy. They go a long way. And as I think that Michelle's mom said, try to find someone as special as your dad, if that's even possible. I don't know if that's possible, but that's what you really should be shooting for. And you want someone that can be your best friend. So those are the final thoughts I'll leave you this evening with. And thank you to our producer Moose for staying up with us this evening, and thank you to the Mesh for hosting our podcast.
Yes, big thank yous to Moose and the Mesh. We do quite appreciate it. I know podcasts is audio only, but visually, I was rolling my eyes when you said, I hope you try and find someone as good as your dad.
I'm just repeating what Michelle's mom said.
Of course. That also happens to, escalate you as being so awesome. But you are awesome, so I'll give you that, Dad.
Well, you are too, and I'm glad that you're beating this COVID thing back, and that we're going to allow you to come home, seeing that we're assuming that you're pretty much healthy, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks. Well, that's all we've got for this season. If you've enjoyed the podcast, as always, give us a 5-star review, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. We would really appreciate it. And that's all we've got. So join us next season to hear all about Clayton's journey to find love from the right reasons and my dad's.